Lewis Cine was on the field on Friday for the Vikings rookie minicamp. Their number 1 draft pick, Lewis Cine, spoke to the media as well. He called himself a natural leader. I remember last year, Patrick Peterson used the same words about himself, and now they're both in the same defensive secondary. Let me ask you this question, Ron. Is Lewis Cine the leader of the Vikings secondary within the next couple of years?
In the next couple of years, yeah. But you got to get Harrison Smith out of there. You got to get Patrick Peterson to retire. I personally met Lewis Cine this past weekend. He was here to sign his contract officially for the Vikings. And just talking to the kid, you can get a sense of a kid. And him, Brian Asamoah, and Asezi Atamewu, all three of those guys were in there, and we were all just chatting it up, talking, and you can get a feel for a guy face to face. Like doing an interview, like he came on the Ron Johnson show. Please go back and check out that segment. But you don't get a feel for a guy doing an interview. Well, I got a feel for Lewis Cine face to face. I think he is going to be a natural leader. He's confident. He's not cocky. He just wants to go play football, and I think that was the key. Just listening to him say how he wants to go play football. That's the biggest thing I saw in Lewis Cine. And so, yeah, I think he can do it. I think when you look at how this team's makeup is going to be the next couple years, Brian Asamoah will probably be a staple in the 3-4 defense as a change move guy. You're going to have, Andrew Booth Jr. as a corner in this. I think those two are going to grow together, hopefully, if Booth can stay healthy. You look at Cam Dantzler, who will be a veteran corner at that point in this group in 3 or 4 years, if he can re-sign and show that he deserves to be here. So, yeah, and then Justin Jefferson on the offensive side of the ball. So I think when you look at Justin Jefferson on the offense, Lewis Cine on the defense in a couple of years, I could easily see that being something, mainly in the back end. We don't know we don't know if Danielle Hunter will still be here. I mean, this is 4 years out, but yeah, I can see him being a leader and more with his actions. Like he's a show up to work, lunch pail guy, play hard, know your assignments guy. He's not going to rah you to death. And I think that's what he means. He leads by example. He's a quiet assassin, Agent 6. So I do see him being that in the future.
Quick follow-up. OTAs start next week. Do you think Cine's getting first team reps, or do you think it's Bynum?
I think Bynum to start is just you do. That's what you do. Like I said, Ed Reed in the first couple of days, he was with the twos. You do that just for the simple fact of you have a guy that's learning. Now, there's the difference, though. Reed came to a team that already had the defense set, whereas this is a totally new defense. So who knows how long Bynum will be with the ones, but I think, at least for a day or two, he's going to be with the ones just because you're going to have the rookies and the twos.
Okay, another Vikings question. ESPN,
and you have to think Justin Jefferson was with the twos too to start, so it happens.
Absolutely right about that. The Zimmer coaching staff would always put the rookies with that second, maybe even third team to start things out. ESPN.com, I think you got to have a subscription to read the article to the plus, but they did write that the Vikings' biggest roster hole is tight end. They got Irv Smith Jr., they've got Nick Muse, who they drafted. They signed the blocking tight end Johnny Munt, and Zach Davidson, who they drafted last year. So that's their tight end room, Ron. Is that accurate, do you think, that tight end is their weakest roster position?
I'd say yes, but this is the thing. When you look at tight ends, other than Kittle, that's the only tight end the 49ers have. Other than Kelsey, that's the go-to. Zach Ertz in Arizona. It's not Matthews. I think it is Matthews. Andrews. No, Mark Andrews with the Ravens. And so when you look at like teams, there's some teams that have a guy, and then there's other teams that just get by with a guy. Irv Smith is not just a guy. He's good. But the problem is when you've been out of football, people forget. People don't know. With this offense, I think the tight end is going to be utilized as that third and fourth receiver. We don't know because we can only speculate with what the Rams did. CJ Ham is probably going to be here from a special team standpoint, a leader standpoint. I could see them get, he can catch, so getting him to be that second tight end in the 1-by-1 off Irv, running from that look where you're playing tight end, but you're the lead, you're the lead blocker, treat him like what's his name for the 49ers? I always say it wrong. Is it Chizik or
Juszczyk?
Juszczyk. You could use them like that. Motion them in and out, put them off the tight end. You see Juszczyk and Kittle all the time. They're by each other. They're in at the same time. So that's one of those things where I could see CJ Ham being used that way. The Rams did not have that, so that's why Kevin O'Connell probably wouldn't be used to that. But again, this is an ever evolving league. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to be one of the new hot young coaches. You look at Matt LaFleur, you look at Zach Taylor, you look at all those young guys, Shanahan. They're every day, Cliff Kingsbury. They're coming up with new innovative ways to make defenses think twice. And so when you look at holes in this offense or this team. Yeah, I mean, they drafted safeties and corners. They added a linebacker, and they already had linebackers. Their D-line was pretty much set, but they added a guy in Harrison Phillips. The receivers, we know they're straight. Quarterback, they got that. Offensive line, well, they do have Darisaw. They have Brian O'Neill. They did draft a guard, so we'll see where he plays out. They are playing another guy at center as well behind Bradbury. So, running back, of course, they're set there. So I think, honestly, when you're doing the numbers, yeah, tight end is just the easy target. It's the biggest thing to look at and say, well, they didn't do anything to make me feel like the tight end got better. You can't fix everything. It's like a house. You have to decide what's more important. Can I deal with having countertops that aren't exactly what I want, or do I want a new bathroom? You got to decide. Do I want to get a new driveway, or do I want to paint the exterior of the house? Which one matters more? That's where the Vikings were at with that. I think they have a perfectly fine, livable house, and they just couldn't address the light switch. Like, hey, the light switches aren't what we want, but the rest of the house is fine. And I think that's where they are. The tight ends are going to be just fine. Irv Smith is going to be dominant. They just have to find a second guy, which is going to be a blocker. I don't think there's not enough balls to go around and have another pass catching tight end. And maybe they're saying Irv is not Kyle Rudolph. Maybe they don't put Irv in that echelon of tight ends right now, and he has to earn his way in there.
Well, I think, too, you look at last year. The Vikings had one tight end last year, too, and their passing game was still pretty productive. Like, it's not the reason they weren't in the Super Bowl because they didn't have a second tight end. They had Conklin, and then Chris Herndon did very little. Ben Ellefson got hurt. Zach Davidson didn't do anything. C.J. Ham was playing tight end half the time, and they still managed to do all right with just sort of one threat. So instead of Conklin this year, you've got Irv Smith, and he might be even better than Conklin. I've got one question left for you, NBA related. The conference finals are set. I know Anthony Edwards was weighing in on the action yesterday. The Suns get blitzed by the Mavericks. They lost by 33. I think they were down by 45 in the second half, and the Celtics run away from the defending champion Bucks. So a couple of blowouts. Conference finals are set. Mavs Warriors, Celtics Heat. Your thoughts? Well,
I already said Warriors Heat. Like that, I'm pretty sure that's what I said on the show, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't have faith in the Suns. I didn't think they would get killed like that, but I didn't have faith in them. I said Luka was the game changer. I said that, like, I think week 1 or 2 of this series, or whatever, game 1 or 2 of this series. I said that when Luka comes back, and even before that, when Luka first came back, I said Luka's what's going to change this, because it was who was it? Mav Jazz, I think is what it was, and Luka didn't play in that first one, and the Jazz got it. And then I'm like, if Luka comes back, it's a different game. Like, he plays at a different speed. He forces everybody to play at his speed. He's moving slow, it looks like, but he's playing at it's his game. Like, he's stronger, he's bigger, he can shoot, he's in control, he's never out of control. He's smart, he makes the right passes, and he shoots when he has it. And at halftime, he had more points than the Suns' entire team at the half. I think it was like 57-27 at half, and then like 72 or something to 35 or something like that at the end of the third. Like, they just got absolutely murdered. I actually, like I said, so I'm going back to that. I got Heat and I got Warriors. I think that would be, it's not a great series in my opinion. I think Celtics Warriors might be a little bit better, but I just think the Heat, Jimmy Butler's not backing down. And he's gonna use his teammates, where Giannis and a lot of these other teams learned early. One star, Kevin Durant figured it out. Giannis figured it out. One star is not going to stop the Celtics because they have a barrage of guys that are going to come at you and attack you. The Heat are kind of built to weather that Celtic storm. It's not just Jimmy Butler. They have other guys getting it in and getting it done. So that's why I say Heat Warriors, and Warriors are just the Warriors. I thought they would beat the Suns. Like, it's the Warriors, like the way they play, the way they move the ball, this new death lineup, even though they lost Gary Payton II, who was a key part as far as just energy and getting some dunks and doing some things like that on defense. But Jordan Poole, I mean, he's the story of the fight. He's allowed them to play this def lineup. He's another guy in there where you're like, man, we got to worry about all these guys. And now Steph's kind of hitting his stride too, where Steph's doing Steph stuff. Clay has been up and down in the last couple series, but Steph's getting it done. And so I think the Warriors are going to pull this out over the Mavs. I mean, unless Luka just goes lights out, the difference is this is a team who doesn't care if Luka gets 50. Like, they're going to still all, three-way get 30 points apiece, or 25, 25, and 24 from three guys. So they don't care what Luka does. They're going to score just as much. And so, no, I definitely think that's the way to go. I think it was more important, and I want to bring up the Anthony Edwards, that he laughed on Instagram at the Suns because the Suns told them at one point, hey, you guys better hope you make the playoffs. And then he said, it did admit we lost, we're out, we're home, but you guys are getting absolutely embarrassed. 35 points, 37 points in the third quarter. That is embarrassing. And it is. And so Anthony Edwards, him and Pat Beverly, they're being trolls this offseason. And hey, I love it. They're young, they're talking, because now you got to take that same confidence and that same trash talking you had in the offseason into next season, because people are going to remember. People don't forget this stuff. Now, Chris Paul, who knows if he comes back, but people don't forget. And that's where the Suns are going to see. If Chris Paul is done, it might be the end of an era. So we'll see.